Riddle me this. What do you call a ghost who bumps his toe? One who has a boo-boo. Riddle me this. Why did the skeleton not go to school? 'Cause his heart wasn't in it. Even with all those really bad jokes, I happen to have a riddle above riddles above riddles. I have riddles. I am confused about this world that we live in. It's a riddle to me, even. Like, for example, why do we make places for people to live and we call them apartments even though they're crammed all close together? And why is it that we drive on parkways but park in driveways? And if I mail something and it goes by car, it's called a shipment. But if it goes by boat, it's called cargo. So many mysteries, so many riddles. And I get confused about other things. Why is it some people will actually say, well, I'm going to change my gender because I can, and I'm going to have surgery because I can. But you try to say you're 65 even though you're 40 and collect Social Security. They tell you, well, you have to be as you're born. You try to change your ethnicity. You try to change your ethnicity by changing your skin color. People say, you can't do that. Why? You have to be as you're born. But gender, that doesn't count. And so many questions. Why is it people will say, hey, the harems of past of the Bible days were horrible and perverted, yet the same guys will have a harem on their computers, on their hard drive via pornography. So many riddles. So many things just boggle my mind. And above that, above all of that, is the book of Esther. The book of Esther boggles my mind. It is a weird book. It's a twisted book. It's a perverted book. It really is. You might think, well, I know Esther. I've read it in Sunday school. You were taught it completely false, oddly, in Sunday school, because if they taught it like it really was, it wouldn't have been taught in Sunday school. Because we're going to find out Esther was a perverted queen. In fact, history outside of the Bible calls her the blood queen, the queen of blood and filth. That's her reputation. And Mordecai's not the godly guy we all try to say that he is. He's actually a pretty wussy type of a guy who has no backbone and gives really, really bad advice. So Esther's a big mystery. So as we solve all the riddles of why this is such a weird book, we're going to have to solve the greatest riddle of all. Who is Esther? Let's have a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, how awesome it is we can come here, sing praises to you, give our offering to you, and also study your word. And I ask that as we do so this morning, you help our minds to be focused, you help our hearts to be open and receptive to the moving of your Spirit. And I ask, Lord, that you convict us and draw us closer to you. This we pray in your Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen. Historically, Esther has been a despised book. Absolutely, absolutely despised. Okay, if you were to go back to the Reformation time period when Protestantism came out of Catholicism, and you were to look at some of those authors and theologians, like, for example, Calvin. John Calvin is a theologian that taught and wrote commentaries on every book of the Bible minus one. Can you guess what that one is? You're right. It's Esther. He knew. The rest of you are like, I don't know. Probably the book we're talking about. It's Esther. Calvin thought there was no redeeming factor of the book at all, so he never talked on it, never taught it, never wrote about it, other than he's not writing about it. It just, he didn't like the book of Esther. But it goes on. The great reformer himself, Martin Luther, hated the book of Esther so much that he actually tried to have the book removed from the Bible. Martin Luther himself, the guy that nailed the 99 Theses on the church door, the guy that separated from the Catholic Church because they weren't believing in Jesus properly, the great guy that he was, hated Esther. Despised it, called it a worthless book. It has no business in the Bible, he said. And then you want to know why? He actually gave his reasons why. His reasons are very interesting. One, he says God's never mentioned in the book, and no internal conviction or motivations ever mentioned in the book, leaving you to conclude to believe in luck more than you believe in God. So he's like, luck is not a power, only God is. So therefore, Esther, having more luck than God, makes it a bad book. And Luther was also severely anti-Semitic. He hated Jewish people. He despised them with a passion. So strongly were his words against the Jewish people as a whole that the Missouri Synod of Lutheran Synod had to actually release a statement saying, we recant everything Martin Luther about the Jews. Everything he wrote about the Jews, they just like, we recant this. And they did that like just 8 years ago. So it's just very, very interesting. And so Luther hated the book of Esther. If I were to make a movie about Luther, I don't know, maybe I'd cast Mel Gibson. And so actually, yeah. Anyways, moving on. In fact, even my most recent, one of the more recent commentaries on the book of Esther has this wonderful statement where it says it's probably not a good idea to ever teach from the book in its entirety. So guess what we're about to do? We're going to go verse by verse over the next 18 weeks. I kid you not, 18 weeks. Through the book of Esther. You're like, 18 weeks? Yeah, it's 10 chapters. It's 10 chapters? Yeah. Well, see, the reason why we don't realize how long the book really is because no one's ever read what happened after the Haman incident. They don't read about Esther ordering bodies being dismembered and hung upon walls. They don't read about how bloodthirsty Esther really was. We don't read about that because, in Sunday school, when you're a kid, you don't get taught stuff like that. You don't get taught that Esther is the beginning of the crucifixion process in history and that her and the Persians helped invent it. You don't get taught stuff like that. And so all that gets left out. But guess what we get to be taught over the next 18 weeks? The truth about Esther. And it will be uncomfortable. It will be frustrating. And we're going to talk about topics you're not going to want to hear. Like even today, if I had thought it through enough, I would have put a barbed wire fence up here to protect myself from the ladies in this room. Because they will charge me at some point. Especially when we talk about submission issues. We get into all these details about the home. People are going to get upset. And it's going to be fun. And I'll be honest with you. As we're going through this series, for some of you, I might fall more conservative than you're comfortable with. And for some of you, I will fall more liberal than what you're comfortable with. In fact, looking at the two roads, I'm like a dog in the middle of the street getting hit by traffic going both ways. So at the end of the course of this whole series, all of you are going to be like, that was a great series. We hate that guy. So we'll see what happens. Are you ready for this adventure? Awesome. I'm glad to hear it. At least right now you are. It's like a marathon. Everyone's excited at the start. It's like, when you're doing a 10K, is when you get that 9K part, everyone's like, this stinks, this stinks. And so we'll see how you are in a few weeks, and then we'll go from there. So going on here we go. Let's dig right into this wonderful, wonderful book of Esther, starting with King Ahasuerus, verses 1 and 2. So if you have your Bibles, please open them to the book of Esther, chapter 1, verses 1 and 2. And if you happen to have, and if my wonderful wife would be so willing to get my glasses out of the my office on my desk, that would be awesome because I can't, my eyes are worse than I thought they were. I'm getting old. I can feel it creeping on me like a walker. So the book of Esther, chapter 1, verses 1 and 2. Here we go. And it says, starting off, it says, these events took place during the days of Ahasuerus. By the way, some of your Bibles might say Xerxes, same person. Okay, same person. Ahasuerus is his Persian name. Xerxes is the Greek name. It's the same person. Okay, so if you watch the movie 300, you know 300, right? They go, "This is Sparta," and they kick people down a hole. There's this big old giant guy that says, I am King Xerxes. I am a god. Yeah, it's the same Xerxes as this guy, by the way. So the movie 300 takes place close to the Esther time period, even though 300 was a fictional movie. So don't get that confused. So during the days of Ahasuerus, who ruled 127 provinces from India to Kush, okay, that means that Ahasuerus had a kingdom that was, there's the word, that was absolutely huge. Okay, in fact, it was the largest, most powerful kingdom of the world of history at that time. Okay, the power of Persia was immense. All right, it was the dominant country, the dominant army, the dominant culture. It was Persia or die. Okay, that's kind of how that worked. And so he ruled 127 provinces from India to Kush. In those days, King Ahasuerus reigned from his royal throne in the fortress of Susa. Okay, now a little background for you, just so that you have it. A little bit of history here. King Ahasuerus' dad, I know it's not mentioned here. His dad was a guy named Darius. Okay, you'll run across that character, that person, in the book of Ezra, because Esther is taking place along the timeline between the books of Ezra and Nehemiah. Okay, so that kind of gives you a little bit of timeline there. We'll come back to that in a few weeks, but it's good to have that in your mind now. And so King Darius was his dad. His dad reigned for about 30 years. His dad was a smart man. His dad was strategic. His dad was this guy that was the type of ruler that could say, hey, we will conquer a country, but we won't make slaves out of them. That's not what he did. Instead, he said, what we're going to do is we're going to take the people out of their homeland and we're going to disperse them in a country we already own. And we're going to take our own people and put it into the country we just conquered. And the people we put over here, we're going to give them good jobs. We're going to give them good jobs, okay? So you could almost say that Darius acted like, a cultural carburetor, okay? He was that guy that allowed the engine to run and to run well, to have solidity, to be able to function and not flood everything. He was a very smart and very strategic leader. That's who he was. His son, not so much. His son was like a stalled engine. Okay, his son was not as smart. In fact, some people would say that if he got any smarter, you'd have to water him. You know, he would be akin to the average cheerleader. We have some cheerleaders here today. So I had to throw that in. And so, he wasn't a strategic guy. What King Ahasuerus was a guy that received wealth from his dad. He never worked for it. He never earned it. He didn't study about it. He didn't learn from his dad. He didn't do any of that. Part of that's a fault of the culture, because in Persian culture, sons did not meet their dad until they were 5 years old. On your 5th birthday, your birthday present was, here's your dad. Okay, that was a birthday present. Some guys are like, sounds good to me. Let's readopt that custom. No diapers, I like it. Okay, the girls, however, did meet their dad, so be careful there. But the sons did not meet their dad until their 5th birthday. And until then, they were raised by the harem. That's who the sons were raised by. And so it's just a very interesting little setup there. And so King Xerxes was one that didn't meet his dad till he was 5, and even then pretty much spent his whole upbringing under his dad with a sword in his hand learning how to fight, and didn't really get to learn how to lead. Okay, so that's King Ahasuerus. So he is a frat boy, party boy type of guy. So when he gets to inherit, $14 trillion, okay, that's not literal dollar amount. Don't go, where's that in the Bible? I don't see it there. It's not there. I'm just giving you a number to let you get an idea of the wealth he had. It was an insane amount of money. Okay, so when he got it, he became a party boy. He wanted to flaunt it. In fact, his battle cry was pretty much, hey, everybody, free beer and hot wings, yeah! Anybody down for that? So, in fact, these next couple of verses sound like a page up from Wikipedia. The only thing missing is open bracket, citation needed, closed bracket. That's the only thing missing from this Wikipedia page, okay? So here's kind of what this says. So it says that Ahasuerus, King Xerxes, held a feast in the 3rd year of his reign. So he's not waiting very long to party. He gets a couple years to figure out his harem, fill it up with hundreds of women, and have them all take a number of who he gets to sleep with on what day and when. And then if one of them got grumpy, he's like, how about you take a number, 700, see you in a year. And so he's working all that out, getting everything set up, changing the captain of the guards. About 3rd year in, he goes, okay, I'm done. Let's party. Let's do this Purdue style, because that's all they know how to do. So he's ready to go to town here. So on the 3rd year of his reign, told you, barbed wire fence, I need it. The 3rd year of his reign, he held this big feast for all his officials and staff, the army of Persia and Media, the nobles and the officials from the provinces. He displayed the glorious wealth of his kingdom and the magnificent splendor of his greatness for a total of how many days? Good, you can read. 180 days. How many of you have ever had a party last 180 days? Yeah, how many people have a hard time with the party that goes beyond 4 hours? You're just ready to call. Yeah, see that? Is people 4 hours, I'm done. I'm done. Mary Kay can leave my home now. Thank you very much. It's been 4 hours. Just go away, take your Tupperware, and get out of here. Okay? It's just this 4 hour is enough for me. Thank you. Okay, 180 days he has this party. At the end of this time, so when you get to the end, he's 180 days. Do we close the doors? No, let's go another week. Why? Because we can. So he's let's do it some more. So to celebrate this idea, we're going to have the sermon that's going to go his usual time, and then we're going to go another hour beyond that just for fun. And some of you are like, is he joking? I can't tell. You'll find out. So at the end of this time, the king held a week-long banquet in the garden courtyard of the royal palace for all the people. This is a week-long party for everybody. Right? From the greatest, all the nobles, princes, and mayors, and all the way to the least, the homeless and the lawyers. We got the whole spectrum. Okay, all the way across. Right? We got everybody from the greatest to the least who were present in the fortress of Susa. Okay, so everybody were able to come. White and violet linens hangings were fastened with fine white and purple linen cords to silver rods on marble columns. See, this is the Wikipedia part. Okay, gold and silver couches. I don't know if these were made out of gold, and therefore were hard to sit on, or if they just looked gold. All I know is they were gold, and they were special, and they were silver, and they were couches. So I don't know if somebody went, thunk, ooh, cozy. I'm not quite sure. It's a riddle to me. Okay, but they got gold and silver couches were arranged on a mosaic pavement of red feldspar, marble, mother of pearl, and precious stones. Okay, the idea is, oh my goodness, the amount of wealth just in that alone. It's like going to the Taj Mahal. Okay, when I was in India and I went to the Taj Mahal and I was there walking through it, they had all these columns filled with precious stones. One little red thing the size of my thumbnail, I was told, was worth so many thousands of dollars. And I was like, really? Look, is that a squirrel? Give me a knife. Pull that out. It was just, oh my God. In fact, the whole Taj Mahal, if it were to be built today, would cost about $1 trillion to build the one building. Okay, that's what they told us on our tour. Oh my goodness, gives a glimpse of what this might have looked like at this palace. Okay, just amazing. Beverages were served in an array of gold goblets, each with a different design, which means it wasn't from IKEA. These were the real deal. Okay? And so each with a different design. No factory stamping here. Each one's hand done. It's not like they're used to the design because they've done it 100 times. Each one's unique. So they got to figure it out. Okay, so this is what these are like. Royal wine flowed freely. Here's the free beer and hot wings. Okay, and so it just flowed freely according to the king's bounty. In other words, however much he has is how much you get to drink. As long as there's a bottle in the cooler, you can go ahead and pop the cork and let it go. All right, so he just like, here it is. Drink to your heart's content. And when you burp and throw up, cool, room for more. Okay, and so this is kind of how this went. It was a massive party, okay? This would put any college campus to shame. That's what this would do. It's a massive party. Okay, so according to the king's bounty, no restraint was placed on the drinking. See that? In other words, this was no bracelet day. Okay, this was no stamp on your hand day. It's like, you've had 3 stamps, you're cut off, It's not like going over to the Indy 500, you don't get stamped to figure out how much you've been drinking. It's not like that at all. It's just, do you want more? Have at it. And it's like, they're like, are you okay, sir? Do you need someone to drive you home? No, of course I can drive because I'm in no condition to walk. And this is how this party was. This is how this went. Okay, it was absolutely insane. No restraint was placed on the drinking. The king had ordered every wine steward in his household to serve as much as each person wanted. Remember, that's from the greatest to the least. Now, this is a whole description meant to not brag about King Ahasuerus, about his wealth. The reason that the author has included this in our Bible is because it is supposed to show him as grotesque. It is supposed to show him as grotesque. We are supposed to look at this and say, oh my word, what a waste of funds, what a waste of money, what a glutton, what an arrogant pig. It is supposed to be grotesque. What's supposed to happen in Persian custom of the time, if you're in Persia at that time period, well before Christ was born, okay, and you're in Persia, what's supposed to happen is you have a toastmaster. And the toastmaster is supposed to limit the drinks, and you only drink, you don't like even just drink until the bottle's gone. You only have a sip when the toastmaster calls for it. That's what he would do. He would be like, hey, to the king, a drink. Everyone goes, a drink, And if somebody wanted to get into a fight, they shook hands. He goes, a gentleman's agreement, toast, a toast. And they drink, and they got into a fight. That's just kind of how that went, okay? It was all organized, what it was supposed to be. Here, the king fires the toastmaster and says, we don't need to toast, we're just going to let it go. We're going to be all about this gluttony and all about this overindulgence. Okay, so that's the type of king Ahasuerus is. Not strategic, not smart, not caring about stewardship, not caring about how the organization of the party or order or even caring about the culture. He doesn't care about his culture. He doesn't care about his history. That's who this king is. This is the type of king that says that if he were here today, he'd be like, I don't care the history of America. I don't care the Constitution. I don't care the flag and what it represents. I don't care. I want to do what I want, when I want, because I want. That's all I want to do. Okay, maybe our country is filled with more Ahasueruses than we like to appreciate. Maybe we're not that different if we were to stop and think about it. But that's this king. That's how he is. Okay, he is a spoiled brat who inherited wealth. He doesn't deserve it, he doesn't know how to handle it, and he squanders it. It is this king that led to the downfall of the Persian Empire, by the way. It is this king that couldn't figure out how to conquer Greece. And the legend that has amassed from 300 Greek soldiers defeating all of Persia's armies comes from this king. Because he couldn't conquer Greece. He went in and got defeated and got sent back. He went in, got defeated and sent back. He spent trillions of dollars trying to conquer Greece and couldn't do it. His dad conquered over 127 provinces in 30 years. King Ahasuerus in all his life couldn't conquer one. Do you get the difference between dad and son here? So that's this king. But what about his wife? What's she like? Queen Vashti. I wonder what she's like. How's she handling being married to a loser of a guy? And some of the ladies I might be online or even here might be like, oh, this could get good. I know what she feels like. We'll let that one go for now. Verse 9, Queen Vashti. Check this out. Queen Vashti also gave a feast, but notice she's not with her husband. Notice that. And people say, well, gender segregation. Not in Persia. They didn't do that. It is custom for Persian culture for the wife, the queen, to be next to the king during all feasts and during all parties and all gatherings. You have the king and the queen together. That's how it's supposed to be in Persia. But here, Queen Vashti also gave a feast for the women of King Ahasuerus' palace, but she's doing it someplace else because she's giving her own feast. She's not participating in the king's feast. And this is important because this shows that there is dissension, if you will, a split growing between the husband and wife here on this team. That you got two people that are married, but they're not friends. They're more there for showmanship, and they're more there as just royal duty than they are because they love each other. There seems to be little love there. Little friendship there. That when he has a party, she just does her own thing. He's in his man cave called the palace, and she's off doing whatever, and they don't see each other. They're roommates. They're not husband and wife. And I would like to challenge many people here today how often you are really friends with your spouse. How much you really enjoy in each other's activities or how separate you are. And there should be some separation. I always like to say a good balance is 75-25. 75% should be shared together and in common with each other, and 25% should be new and independent so that you bring fresh things into the relationship on an ongoing basis. It's a good way of looking at it. And here it seems to be the other way around, that 25% meaning the bedchamber, and that's pretty much it. Okay, that's their relationship. It is very much in jeopardy. And I hope that isn't the case in some of the homes here, but I fear that it might be. And we're going to learn about what brings that about and how to work with that over the course of this series. We won't hammer all of that just today. We got 18 weeks, a lot of time to fill in a lot of these issues. And we're going to, very detailedly. It's going to have a big, heavy counseling emphasis to it. You're welcome. By the time the 18 weeks is up, we're going to no longer have services here. We'll be meeting in the garage at the gas station, right up the street. Hi, I pointed the right way. Hey, I'm getting my directions finally. So, the king gives a request. So here's this married couple. They're having separate parties, and the king decides he wants to see his wife. And so he makes a request. So check this out, starting at verse 10. On the seventh day, when the king was feeling good from the wine, hear this, when he was drunk off his gourd. Okay, now I know it doesn't say when he was inebriated, but he's feeling good. And a guy that drinks like he does, he's going to take a while to feel good about it. Okay, it's going to have to kick into his system a little bit. And so he's definitely kind of like, woohoo, I'm having good time with my wine, baby. Yeah, and so that's kind of where he's at. So as he's feeling good from the wine, Ahasuerus commanded Mehuman, Bitha, Harbana, Bigtha, Adbitha, Thethar, and Carcass. That last one's a band. That should be. That's a great name for a band. Maybe our praise team can call themselves that someday. We're Carcass. With a K or a C. Oh, it doesn't matter. It's awesome. Okay, maybe not. But so he summons these people, the 7 eunuchs, who personally served him. Okay, so he summons them to bring Queen Vashti before him with her royal crown. He wanted to show off her beauty to the people and the officials because she was very beautiful. Apparently, it was rare to be pretty in Persia. That's all I'm saying. Apparently, there's a struggle here. It's all about the nose. Anyway, and so he wanted to show off this beauty because she was very beautiful, but Queen Vashti refused to come at the king's command. That's interesting. He's like, honey, you're hot. Come in here. Let everybody see how cute you are. And she's like, eat rocks. Very interesting. Very interesting. Again, not normal to custom here. Something weird is going on. We'll come back to this in just a moment. Let's finish the verses here, and we'll talk about this a little. So she refused to come at the king's command that was delivered by his eunuchs. Verse 12. Then the king became furious. How dare she? This is worse than turning off the game on the last quarter of the Super Bowl saying, we need to talk. This is just, how dare she? Okay, so he became furious, and his anger burned within him. Okay, so he's just like, what? So he's really, really mad. He's like, come, show your beauty. And she's like, I'm declined to acquiesce as your request. That means no. As she lady-splains it to him. Because remember, he's not as smart as daddy. And so this is the situation. And so people begin to wonder, why did she refuse? And people have theories. Let me just share with you the two most common and then the one that I like to sit on. Okay, and so the most common one is the Jewish traditional understanding of this. And the Jewish traditional understanding is that when he asked for her to come in with her crown, she was to come in with her crown, but only her crown, meaning she was to come in nude. Okay, so take everything off so that everybody can see you, because you wouldn't show a beautiful chair by throwing a blanket over it. And so that's the Jewish understanding to this. I tend to decline that view, mainly because that was not what Persians did even in drunken states. It didn't go along with that custom at all, and it didn't seem, and I know he didn't really seem to care about custom, but it just doesn't seem quite to fit. It could be that route, but it really, I want to go a whole different route with this, which we'll see in just a moment. A second view that some of my commentaries had pointed out was she chose no because she thought it was unwise to go before a bunch of drunken men. Now, I think that number two could just fit regardless of any other view. I think you can say that okay? I agree. It is not wise for any woman to be paraded like a trophy in front of a party of drunken men. Okay, that's just not wise at all. But I want to hold myself on to view number three. And here's what view number three is, that in Persian custom, what you are supposed to do is the queen always has a veil over her face. She is to always have that, because her beauty, what makes the queen different than the rest of the harem or the temple prostitutes or anything else, what makes the queen different is that she is the king's standard of beauty, and she is only beauty for the king. So she is always veiled. That veil never comes up except for in front of the king only and in the bedroom only. Okay, it's the Persian veil. That's how Persian custom was. And what Ahasuerus is doing here is he is rejecting Persian custom by saying, hey, I know your beauty's for me. I keep telling everybody your wives are ugly. They're like, they jumped off the ugly tree and hit every branch on the way down. You got to check out my wife. Check her out over here. Man, is she something or what? Bring her in here. Go ahead, take off your veil. Lift that up. Show everyone your cheekbones. Show everyone that chin. Oh, baby, her chin. You ought to see her chin. It is something special. And her teeth line and lips. Woo, doggy. I just need some stiletto heels and a steak. I'm good to go. And that's kind of how he was acting, all drunk and stupid. Okay? And so then she's like, I am not lifting my veil to anyone. That's against the custom. It's against our culture. It's against what we're about as Persians. Obviously, my husband, I'm thinking she says something like this. He wants me to do what? He wants you to come in, queen, and lift up your veil and show everyone your face. And she's like, man, is he drunk off his rocker? Yes, ma'am, he is. Tell him no. Do you want to think about this? I'm thinking about it. Thought about it again? No. Okay, that's just how that went. Okay, she's like, no, absolutely not. And so when they went back and told him, nope, she ain't coming, he flipped out. And that's the anger, because nobody says no to the king. You just don't do that in Persia. In fact, if he makes a rule, that rule is written in stone and is a rule never to be deleted. Because they kind of viewed the king of Persia like a god of Persia. So if you watch the movie 300 and the king Xerxes calls himself a god, that's kind of how they viewed him. That's not an overstatement. That's how they viewed the king. His words, his commands, his requests are law. His requests are what is legal, period. Doesn't matter morality, doesn't matter ethics. He says it, it's done, period. And so for the king to say, do this, and for his queen to publicly, because remember, who's at the palace? How many people? All. From what type of status? From the great to the small. Yeah, some people remembered. Good. See, the last 20 minutes wasn't wasted on you. So from the greatest to the smallest. Okay, that's who was there. This is public. This is like king going out on Twitter going, come here, queen. And queen doing all caps. No. And everyone's like, oh, look. And they're all sharing the Twitter feed. Check this out. And this being shared like 180,000 times. He's like, oh, man. This is looking bad. CNN's covering it. And they're like, look, it's bad. Okay, it's on Facebook and people are Snapchatting it. It's on Pinterest memes now. There's memes with hashtag Vastino, And so it's just becoming a real problem. And so the king's just ticked off. But that leads us with a very interesting question. Should she have said yes? If the king requests it, and he's, after all, the man, right? He's the king, and what he says goes. Should she have said yes? If this situation were today, and let's say she were a Christian, and he were a Christian, and let's say he was indeed, in a sinful state with his drunkenness, and she is hearing this request, does she do it or not do it? Based on what? And then if we say yes she is or no she isn't, what do we do with the immoral request of come here and do something inappropriate? And yet we have these weird Bible verses that says, wives, submit to your husbands. And so what do we do with these commands that are in the Bible that are fairly clear? And people try to jumble things up with Greek this and that, but in the end it says what it says. So what do we do with all of these things? Should she have obeyed her husband, and if not, under what grounds? Is there anything that we can learn from today in our homes, in our marriages? Is there anything from this we can glean to make this beneficial to us? See, this is a tough task. This is why the commentators say probably not best to teach this book. Because we don't get the teaching from the book. We're going to have to make some assumptions. We're going to have to do a lot of this history work, which I laid down for you already. And we're going to have to try to draw some conclusions as informed as we possibly can and try to be biblically accurate. And this is going to be really, really rough. It's going to be countercultural in many ways. And we all are going to have our critics that we're going to have to deal with on this. So let's just go ahead and just dig right in. Should the queen have submitted to her husband? And if the answer is no, which I will say right now, the answer is no, she should not have. Okay, in case you're wondering, am I going to be that legalistic? I'm saying she did the right thing. If my wife said, hey, John, put on that Speedo and come down to the party, I'd be like texting her, yeah, that's not happening. That's not happening. That Speedo's only for you, dear, with the feather boa. That's it. That's not happening. I am not showing up that way. Eat rocks. That's just what's going to happen, okay? Why are you turning so red? Like Bob the Tomato. And so this is this big question. So should she have submitted? And I will say the answer is going to be no. But I want to be true to Scripture at the same time. If we're going to make this a teaching that for all of us to apply, I want to get the whole picture. I want to know what's all happening and understand what is the dynamics, what are the qualifications for when we say yes, when we say no, where the line is supposed to be, when we're crossing that line. Very tough issues. Okay, so first off, when we deal with this submit word, it might be helpful if we define it for a moment. So let's define the word submit simply. So when I looked up the word in the Greek lexicon, and I got the dictionary out for Greek and Hebrew, and I looked up the word submit for Old and New Testament, I find that it carries on two basic definitions. Those definitions are to submit, which doesn't help because it defined its word by using its word, which ticks me off. They're like, you want a bologna sandwich? What's a bologna sandwich? Sandwich made with bologna. Doesn't help. What is bologna? Bologna is bologna. You know, it's really difficult. So we'll deal with that in a moment. The second definition is to obey. And that's where people get really frustrated with, is that term obey. Now, the two definitions are because it is applied to two different types of family or interaction, interpersonal relationships. The obey is when it's being used for that definition, refers to a superior to an inferior. That's that definitional topic, from an inferior from a superior and inferior relationship. In other words, us to God. When it says submit to the Lord, it usually gets translated obey the Lord. Okay, because you're from an inferior to a superior. You get that? See how that works? That's how that works, okay? Also, in children-parent dynamics. Okay, because they're dealing with a little bit of an inferior-superior type situation. Okay, I'm the parent. What I say goes. You're the child. You do not dictate how we handle our budget. You do not dictate if we go out or not. You do not dictate the rules of our home. You do not dictate your bedtime. These are arguments I have on a daily basis with my daughter. She's 7, and she goes, I think my birthday, I think my bedtime is going to be 9 o'clock now. And I go, it's going to be 8. She goes, it should be 9, and it's going to be 8. Really? I think it should be 9. I'm thinking 7:30. 8 then. You know, that's usually how it, superior to inferior, okay? So when it says, children, obey your parents, it's that same word for submit, but gets translated obey, because you're dealing with inferior to superior type dynamics, okay? Now, when submit is used to mean to submit, not obey, that submit word is therefore being used when you're dealing with adult to adult, or interpersonal relationships along those lines, and marriage relationships, and in church dynamic relationships in between Christians and Christians, like submit one to another, husbands submit to wives, wives submit to your husband, seeing who's paying attention. Okay, so husbands submit to your wives. You listening? Come on, wake up. So wives, submit to your husbands and also submit one to another. Okay, so that's the dynamic that's there, and that word means to submit. And that submission word has with it 3 parts to it. Okay, and so the first one is respect. This is used in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 33, where it is you are to respect one another or respect the person to whom you are submitting. So submission is a respect issue. That means you talk well about them, especially when they're not around. Okay, that's what that word means. You talk well about them. So if a husband and wife are going to submit to one another with this word respect in mind, it means that they will not wreck each other's reputation to other people. They will speak well of them. Even if they're not a respectable person, they will still respect them. That's what that will look like. So you speak well of one another, as Ephesians 5:33. Another one is enhanced, 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 10. This often gets done as a joke, but the joke, I think, has some truth to it. I went to this one pastor conference, and this one pastor got up. And you could tell he was a pastor because he had a big belly and a comb over, right? And you can always tell that, you can always tell the pastor in the room, right? They're the ones that have a gluttony problem. I just don't get it, but they do. And so they get up, they got this big old belly and a comb over, and he's like, there's my wife over here, and man, she makes me look good. And it's like, yeah, she's cute, you're not. I mean, you're right, you know, get a Stairmaster. But that joke, though, she makes me look good, is that enhancement type issue. Okay, is where one another help to make each other look good. My wife does a great job helping me look good because she dresses me like a Barbie doll. Now, she did not choose this. This is all my doing. This is what I do when I'm left alone for 2 hours. Okay. You know, and so this is my doing. But she's the one that's like, oh, that looks horrible on you. It makes you look frumpy. What you need is this. And she goes, oh, yeah, that looks nice. And she puts something else on me. Ugh, she takes that off. So she's enhancing me. And that's how it should be. You should enhance each other. Let each other know what's attractive, what's not attractive, what turns you on, what doesn't. You know, what's attractive to you. And it should be that way, working with each other on that. And so that's that 1 Corinthians 11:10 type of an approach, is to enhance one another, to make each other better people because you're around each other. Okay, so it's that type of an attitude to it. It's this third one where people get a little bit up in arms. This means to follow, like in Luke 22:42. Okay, so this means to follow is this third final use of this word submission. And to follow means that you go along with someone, you follow them, especially if, or even though if, you don't agree. Okay, this is very similar to what Jesus does in the Garden of Gethsemane. When Jesus says, Father, this whole crucifixion thing, I'm thinking a plan B might not be a bad idea. I'm thinking this cup can pass from me. I'm thinking we can try something different. If there's another route, I'm all game. But in the end, not my will, but your will be done. In the end, I will follow. Okay, so that's that attitude. I might not agree, but in the end, I will follow. Here's what this might look like in a home type context in a simple way. Simple way. Not as heavy as Jesus there, but a simple way. I call my wife up on the phone and I'm like, hey, what would you like for supper? And she's like, I don't care. And I'm like, well, I know you do care. Because when you say I don't care and I offer an idea, you say, no, not that. And so what would you like? Everyone's like, yes, yes, Pastor, amen. Say that some more. Stay there. Focus on that for a moment. So I'm like, so what would you think about pizza? Let's have pizza. And if she were to say, pizza sounds great. Yes, I would love me some pizza. It's amazing. Now, she is not submitting. She's agreeing. There's a difference there. That is not following. That's like, no, we're pretty much walking arm in arm on this one, buddy. We're right next to each other. This is going just fine. Okay, now if this conversation went differently, if I say, hey, supper, I'm thinking pizza. And she goes, well, I'm really thinking about some tacos. I want you to cook. She's like, that's lunch now, isn't it? Yeah, there it is. Okay, I'll cook it. And so, tacos, my house. And so she's like, I'm thinking tacos. I would really like some tacos. And if I were to say, well, here's the problem. I had tacos for lunch. Our guitarist wanted to hang out, and we went to Taco Bell, and I'm just pretty much full on tacos, and I really could do some pizza tonight. And then she goes, I'm really feeling me some tacos, but fine. Tacos a different day. We'll do pizza. See, that's this following attitude. Don't necessarily agree. We're not necessarily walking step and step on this, but all right, fine. Whatever. Okay, so that's this following type of attitude. And what this following attitude has with it is that whole concept of, in the end, we know we can't have a democracy in a marriage. You can't have it, practically speaking. You can't have a democracy. If you disagree and you vote, what do you get? Okay? It's like, I vote yes, I vote no. Tie. Let's do a recount. One yes, one no. It's a tie. It's a tie. And what do? You just count hanging chads? I mean, what are you going to do with this? Somebody in the end has to pull the trigger. Somebody in the end has to make that final call. That's just what that's supposed to look like. And so how do you know who pulls the trigger? See, this is the big power. This is the big power, the big battle in marriages. All marriage problems fall into three categories: money, love, and power. How is money spent? How is love expressed and received? And who makes the decisions? That's every marital problem right there. You want to make it simple? Money, love, power. Whatever problem you're dealing with falls into one or more, or a combination, or some weird blend of those three issues. Okay? That's what it boils down to. And so who makes the decision? And what we have is a two-type charge in Scripture for this dynamic. That in the end, you're supposed to look like this. Throughout the day, the man and wife are supposed to, the husband and wife are supposed to talk it out, share each other's points of view, have their day in court, if you will. Okay, they're going to be presenting what they say, what they want, what they expect, why, the motivation behind it, their desire. In the end, traditionally, on average, the man's supposed to pull the trigger. Now, the second half of that command is he's supposed to pull that trigger like Jesus pulls the trigger for the church. That's that second part to it. So he is supposed to be, I will sacrifice myself to help other people flourish. So when it comes to that pizza taco issue, if I'm going to be like Jesus, I'll say, fine, whatever you want, dear, tacos sound great. I would give to her because I love her, I want her happiness, I want her well-being. I would say no if she says, I'm on a diet and I want chocolate for lunch. I'd be like, maybe not the best idea. I'll tell you what, we'll have this and the chocolate covered strawberries. Win. Okay? But there are situations where we have to hold each other accountable for whatever reason we need to hold each other accountable. Sometimes no is the answer. And so it just basically, on average, is supposed to fall upon the guy for that. That's kind of how God set that up. That's why it's wives, submit to your husbands. Husbands, love your wives like Christ loved the church. It's that issue. Now I know, wives are going to say, what about abuse? What about those neglectful husbands? What about those evil, abusive husbands? What about those immoral, ungodly husbands? Those irrespectable losers, those Homer Simpsons of the world? What about them? What do we do about them? And usually what that argument says to me is that argument is the same thing as saying abortion is wrong, and then someone says, what about rape cases? And really, they're not wanting to know about rape cases. They're using it as an excuse to throw the whole thing out. Because when I have an abortion debate with people, and I say, I believe abortion is wrong, I don't think it should ever happen. And they say, well, what about rape cases? And I'll tell them, I'll tell you what, we'll talk about the rape cases if you can agree with me that all the other abortions are bad. And they say, well, I don't believe that. I believe that they're okay. Then the rape issue isn't the issue here. You're just using it as an excuse to try to convince me a different way. You're just trying to crowbar me with it. Same thing with the submission issue. Okay, so if a woman wants to immediately say, what about abusive husbands? I would say, well, do you agree that under every other circumstance, submission and the guy pulling the trigger should be how it goes? They say, no, I don't necessarily agree with that. Then the abuse isn't the issue. There's another issue at hand. You have a problem with what God wrote, and you're going to have to deal with that because his ways are best. This is kind of how that is. We have to trust his ways are best. He wrote it. It's his law. We have to deal with that. Now, here's how this works. When you deal with abuse issues, I'll go ahead and I'll walk down that road. And we got a lot of other issues. Like I said, there are times for a woman not to submit to her husband. Like Queen Vashti, she did not submit. And she was right in doing so. There are many times wives are not to submit to their husbands. This is not like it's a wife submit to your husbands 100% of the time, no matter the request, no matter the issue. That is not the case. There are exceptions. There are issues that come into play where that doesn't happen. And that's what we have to realize. It's not a all or nothing situation. There is give and take. Okay, because there is a verse in Ephesians afterwards that says submit to one another. So there is submission both ways that is going on there. Because keep in mind, if you are both in Christ, that means that she is the sister in Christ, he is a brother in Christ, and they have that dynamic in their relationship in addition to husband-wife. Therefore, they have the right to, in Christ, rebuke each other, correct each other, submit to one another in different directions. So it is a give and take type relationship, repeat directions. It's not an all nothing, wives have to submit, can't have any leadership, can't have any authority, can't have any say, can't have a voice, can't do what she wants. It's not like that at all. Okay, to say that that's the way it is to misunderstand how God's Trinity is set up. Because keep in mind, people should be able to look at your marriage and see a picture of the triune God. They should be able to see a husband and wife united in God in the way that the Holy Spirit submits to the Son submits to the Father, a type of a dynamic. Okay, we're supposed to be able to see the Trinity in your marriage. And so that's a good reflection question. Can someone look at your marriage and could any outsider look at your marriage and get a glimpse of what God is like? Or will they get a glimpse of what it looks like when two demons hate each other? And all they do is yell and bicker and complain and fight and argue. All they do is just claw for authority upon each other. God said that would be the curse after Adam and Eve fell, that the women's desire would be to usurp the authority of the man. God said that would be the issue, and it's going to be continually the issue, and it has been the issue from onward. Even the feminist movement that says equality for women, but then they demand equal rights or special treatment. They say equal rights, but then they say, I want special treatment, which doesn't make any sense. And they want to do it at the expense of the man and usurp the man and make the man the idiot, which isn't equal treatment at all. So they're kind of messing that whole thing up. And so here's how this kind of is supposed to play out. Look at authority as having, and this is going to be some guidelines for you to how we figure out when we submit to each other and when we don't submit to each other. And so some guidelines on this. So we got the first, wives submit to the husbands, Ephesians 5:22. So you can look that up, see that it's clear as day for you, have a good Bible study with that. It's a whole lot of fun. But here's what we need to realize. There is what's called a triadic of authority. In other words, husbands, you are not the only authority on this planet. You are not even the final authority. You are not the ultimate authority that's there. There is authority that is above you that people can appeal to and that they need to respect above you. And we need to be able to deal with that. Because here's what God wants. God wants order, not chaos and anarchy. So the woman that just wants to say no to submission because they want to do what they want when they want, that's called autonomy. That's actually a sin. That's the sin that led to the fall of humanity. That's Adam and Eve's first sin. It wasn't just eating the apple. The sin happened before that with the sin of autonomy. I will do this because I can be judge. I don't care what God says. I'm not even I can judge what God said to see if it's right or wrong. Okay, so God does not want anarchy, just to rebel for the sake of rebelling, just to have me be the only final authority. Because guess what, women? Even if you're the hottest, the strictest feminist, even you are not the final authority in life. There are authorities over you. There's a triadic of authority, and the triadic of authority looks like this. It starts with the home. The home is one authority. Okay, that's the wife submit to your husband's situation. It's the home domestic authority. Children, obey your parents. Okay, but here's a question. What if the parents ask their kids to break the law? What if the parent asks the kid to do something wrong, to lie, to cheat, to steal? And which, by the way, parents do many times. I have seen it. Okay, are the children to disobey their parents? The Bible's very clear, just like it is in Ephesians 5:22. Children, obey your parents. And the Old Testament even has these crazy extreme verses. If children don't obey their parents, it could be a capital punishment. Okay, so what are children to do? Well, good news. The home is not the top authority. We have what's called government authority. So just because your parent tells you or your husband tells you to do something, you can appeal to a higher authority. That's the land government authority. In other words, if it's illegal, you call the police. I tell every woman, absolutely, if a guy hits you, if your husband hits you, call the police, first offense. I don't care if he says, I'll never do it again, this was an exception, this was a mistake, I'm so sorry, it'll never happen again. Call the police. He'll say, no, you're just going to wreck my reputation. You got to submit to me. You just got to, please, just don't do this. Don't call the police. First offense, period. If you call the police first offense, you appeal to a higher authority, puts the husband in his place that he should not be doing that at all, and the odds of a repeat physical offense decreases by over 80% if you call the police first offense. If you wait till second or third or fourth offense, it will be a repeating pattern the rest of your marriage. Odds are. Call the police first offense. First offense. So young couples that are looking at getting married, especially like we have a wedding next weekend. Our bassist and tambourine are getting married on Saturday next week. Woohoo! You know, so help me. If you were to hit your fiance, first, I have some guys here. I know where to hide a body. Second, she calls the police first offense. Plain and simple. Okay? That's just how that is. You call the police first offense. You appeal to the higher authority. Okay? And then, what if the government tells you to do something wrong? What if the government tells you to, or what if the husband asks you to do something that's not illegal, but it's immoral? Hey, honey, let's have a threesome. No, why not? It's not illegal. You can't call the cops on me on that one. What are you going to do? Guess what? The government is not the top authority in the world, now is it? We kind of have an authority that's above all of that, right? We say, no, why not? It's not illegal. How about just because it's legal doesn't mean it's moral. A lot of things in life are legal that are not moral. We just have to deal with that one. Okay, so I'm going to appeal to a higher authority, and that is God. So the answer is no. Why? It's legal and it's immoral, says God. The answer is no. Of course, the issue then comes. What happens if a Christian woman is married to a non-Christian man? See, we get a lot of messed up stuff in life. It's not supposed to ever be that way, but it happens. It happens. Sometimes the woman's in sin, and she marries a non-Christian, knowing she is a Christian, knowing he's not a Christian, not caring what the Bible says because we love each other. And it's more about love than it is serving God. And they're getting married for self, not being married for ministry, like marriage is intended. Okay, and so you get those mixed marriages sometimes out of a reaction of sin. Sometimes that mixed marriage happens because you get two non-Christians that get married, one of them gets saved, and now you got a mixed marriage. And it's not an issue of sin at that point that caused it. You're just in a really rough situation. So what do we do in those situations then where you got a non-Christian husband that the Bible says, submit to your husbands? Right? And so then, because they don't submit to God, and browbeating them with the Bible isn't the answer. It's where you have to stay with the legal battle. And if they ask for something immoral, say, you know what? I am not going to participate with that because I submit to God. You might not. It's your choice. You want to go and have affairs? Cool. Grounds for divorce, according to the Bible, see ya. Okay? And so you can go that route and be biblically appropriate. Okay, but you submit to God because who's the top authority? God. Okay, so whatever you're dealing with, you have this triadic of authority. Obey as best you can the house rules. Obey to the best of your ability governmental rules, submitting up the chain. In the end, God wins. You submit there. See, we're never supposed to ever be in a state of anarchy where we don't submit at all. Because guess who's supposed to submit to God? Husbands and wives. That we can hold each other to and are to hold each other to. That we're supposed to be about. So the question begins to come then is when we look at your homes, and if you were to reflect upon your home, know this, that God is the perfect king. He's the perfect father, the perfect example of husbandry, if you will, because he's going to marry the church. And so look at the husbandry that's supposed to be there. Look at that. He's the perfect example. Does your home reflect that? As for you and your house and your mouse and everything else, does it serve the Lord? Husbands, do you serve God with everything, including your computer, including your phone and your tablet? Or are you like Ahasuerus, where you got a whole bunch of harems on your computer called pornography, and that's your go-to? You got the woman of the day instead of your veiled bride that is to be your standard of beauty and your focus of your attention. Husbands, how is your home? Is your home when somebody comes and visit and just like it's just a big old show, you just try to show off to everybody and you're a big braggart and you're like a college student in a 60-year-old body. You just can't wait to show off everything to everybody and you just got to show everything off to make yourself look like the top cream de crew, whatever the case is going on, and you're all about show, just like Ahasuerus. Maybe you don't know how to steward yourself. You don't have self-control. You have a hard time. You just spendthrift. You always got to be buying something. It's your emotional stabilizer. I feel sad, so I'm going to go buy something to feel better. Oh, I got a raise. I'm going to celebrate by buying something. It's like no matter what it is in life, you're always buying something, which means your status is your God and spending money is your act of worship. What's your home like? Is it a picture of God? Is it serving God? Wives, what's your home like? Are you serving God? Is there any type of submissive attitude at all that people will be able to look at and even see glimpses of the Holy Spirit, see glimpses of Jesus and the Father relationship? What's your marriage like? Are you serving and loving each other? Is your goal to help each other flourish? Or is your goal just to get what you want when you want because you want? What's your goal? What's your purpose? This is the beginning of Esther. Let's have a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, Lord, it is so difficult for us